the joy of being very few people on a Tuesday and Monday web members only. When we do this, we're going to be playing do, re, mi, fa, sol, la, ti, and do. The whole point of extended chords are to take the chords that we already know how to play, like C major, G major, A minor, and start to derive some sort of pleasure from being able to play those notes in a different key and do it with different notes. So, basic foundation of musical theory would allow us to understand two different things. One, all chords have three notes. There are sometimes where we limit a chord on having three notes and it only has two notes. But at that point, if you're playing something called a five chord, you are simply playing a dyad in a harmony. It just so happens it's the one and the five. So essentially, what we're looking for is knowing that in any given key, that you have a 1, 3, and a 5. 1, 3, 5. If we wanted to add any notes above the C, E, and G, because in the key of C major, there are no sharps and there are no flats. C being the 1, F being the 4, G being the 5, D minor, E minor, A minor. I mean, even though this 7th scale degree has a lowercase Roman numeral, do not be fooled. It is still a minor type chord. It just happens at this point to have a stacking of 2 minor thirds. So what that means, because this is just a real quick recap for those of you who are jumping in here, when we play a 1, 3, 5 in any key, we get a major. How about the key of G? G, B, D. This is what we call a G major. G, B, D. When we change the key, it would have gone to a G, A, B, C, D, E, and then F sharp diminished. That's how we would change the key to the key of G major. And the reason why we want to do this is to know that when we play with the notes inside of a key signature, those are the notes we generally use to do extended chords, which is the whole point of today's video. I'm also going to check out the comment section here. Is anybody in the comment section watching this? If you are, grab your music notebook, start to take a little questions. Maybe you could come back and bullet point these comment sections. So, long story short is, yes, what we're going to do here is we're going to show you how to play an extended chord. Let's say we're playing in the key of G major. If we are playing in the key of G major and we already have our 1, 3, 5, what we can do... Hi, Jamie. Dan! Which Dan? Dan Strong and your wife need this. Oh, cool. Right on. Love to see you back, Jamie. Yeah, so as far as like what we see here, if we've got a 1, 3, 5 in the key of G, and I would like to go up and I would like to have this have an extended chord, using the key of G major, we could add any of these notes. Now what we need to understand is G, when it goes here, is called the 8th. It's just the resolution. This here is what we call a P8 or a perfect octave. This is what we call the tonic. It also can be perfect. We've got a perfect 4th and a perfect 5th. Here we're going to have a major 3rd, major 2nd, major 6, and major 7. And then in between these, all of them except for 3 to 4, and then 7 to 8, have a whole step. So in between all of these, you also have like a minor 2nd, minor 3rd. Here we've got the minor 5th, or the flat 5. Actually, we don't call it a minor 5. We call it a flat 5 or an og 4. Diminished 5th works. Here we would have the minor 6. Here we'd have the minor 7. What we're talking about is in between all these notes, we've got this 7-note scale that we talk about, which is called a diatonic scale. As in, diatones are the first 2 notes of every triad. So when we have 3 notes in a chord, the first 2 distinguish whether its sonority is major or minor, whether it feels happy or feels sad. This one, it just so happens the distance between G to B is going to be 4 minor seconds. So when we go from G to G sharp, we get a minor 2nd. G sharp to A to A sharp is another minor 2nd. And then when we go from A sharp or B flat to B, we get a major third. Hence, the distance between the tonic and the major third feels like a major triad. So when we're going to play something like a flat, if we wanted to, we would do that. That would change the order of what this is. The stacking of a major diatonically would have a 1, 3, 5, and that would be a major third and a minor third. When we change this diatonically from a major and then we move it to a minor, we just switch the order onto which these go. Hence, the minor would have a flat 3, so this would be a minor third down, and then this would be a major third. Hope that makes sense. And then, as we were before mentioning here, if we flatten the 5 again here, we get something called a diminish. That then makes the minor third and major third into a minor third, minor third. These are the only 3 triads that are found in a major key, a diatonic key. What happens is there is one more triad called an augmented, which uses the same principle, but rather than having a flattened mediant and having a flattened dominant, it has a sharpened dominant. It builds more tension. This would be a G, B, D, and a sharp. It has a very suspenseful note to it. I really enjoy it. I hope you do too. So what we can see, how about we jump back into the key of C major, do this whole thing again and start answering some questions if anybody's out there watching. Just if you're curious, this is the kind of stuff that's going to be for members only. Usually there's a lot of trolls in the comment section, unto which I absolutely enjoy. I love talking to people. Sorry, I suck at typing on my phone. Oh, hey, Dan Anderson. Dan. Well, then I should give you a shout out, Jamie. I love Dan. Lots of fun. So let's see here. Thanks for being here. Yeah, if we did the key of C major, we'd have a C, D, E, F, G, A, and then B. The reason why I'm writing lowercase is because they're minors. You don't have to, I just do. The reason why I'm doing Roman numerals and putting columns with pillars and caps on the top, one denotes major, one denotes minor. And of course, the last one's going to be diminished, notated by here. But as we just saw, it has a minor third stacking. So one of the things I like to do always on every channel and everything I write is draw out our circle of fifths. If you're not familiar with this, I'm not going to take time right now to explain it, but I really, yep, that Dan. But I really would love for anybody who's going to be joining the members group to have a fair idea of what this is, and then be able to replicate it and utilize it while we're going through the circle and trying to understand keys and notes. But yeah, for members, when you start joining and becoming a member only, this is the kind of stuff that we would talk about. I'll answer personal questions via the text, and then if you do join the Patreon, you'll be able to be privy to almost all the different stuff, which is going to be on the same YouTube channel, but just for members only. We're selecting what videos, and I'm actually thinking about editing some videos. Who knows? All right, so going on, this is a circle of fifths. You can either do a shaka and throw out your relative minor, D major as a B minor, C major, A minor. Some people prefer to put them along the inside of the wheel. That's fine. You can do that too. That means that you would know exactly what notes are your sharps. C sharp, G sharp minor. A flat, you would just go to your 6, right? So A to F, F minor. E flat would be C minor, B flat would be G minor, and then F would be D minor. Those are all your relative minors. That's how you kind of look at it. Again, I'm not talking about the circle of fifths today, but it's always great to have this, and we will use that to make extended chords. Now, as the thumbnail actually prevails, we can take our C, E, G, and we just get a C major. If we take the 7th scale degree and we take our C, E, G, we get a major, C, E, G, B. If we wanted to, we could also do C dominant which would get rid of our triangle. It's not the best triangle, is it? That way we wouldn't be using the major seventh. We'd be using the B flat. Does that make sense? I hope so. When we have a B flat, we're utilizing the minor seventh. Right here. And don't let it be lost on you. The reason why we counted out 7 to 8 is because 8, well, this is our 9. 9. 10, there is no 10, it's just a major or minor. 11, right? And then there is no 12, it's just the dominant. And then we have a 13th. I'm sorry. That's how we derive our extended notes. Now there are the minor 6. We've got a diminished 5th. We could also have a flat chord, a note from a 13 or a 9. We could also do extended chords up there. We could do a sharp 4, but we generally don't do a diminished. We do an augmented 11. We don't really, like sharp 11, that happens all the time. Don't really have a lot of flat 11s. You would name it a different name. So being able to go through here, we have a clear representation of chords we could get just from C, E, and G. When we do that, we can see that a minor second could have a flat 9 or a sharp 9. So if we wanted to do after a 7, here's the really, really interesting piece of the equation that you have to understand when doing extended chords. When you have a foundation of your triad in a 1, 3, 5, when you go above the 8th or the perfect 8th, you must include either the major 7 or the minor 7, which means if you're playing above the key and you wanted to do an extended chord called a C major 9, which would be something like this, C triangle 9, you would have C, E, G, the major 7th, which is the B, and then you would add the 9. 8, 9. The spelling of a C major 9 includes 5 notes, which makes it kind of difficult to do on like a ukulele or a mandolin. Generally what we do is we get rid of one of our notes. Generally you get rid of the 5th, the dominant, because the ear naturally wants to hear that and it replaces it anyways. However, some of the really cool stuff we could do is incorporating that 5th out of the idea of your chord and then using a modal interchange to try to do some sort of melody over the top of it. If we were to just take the C9, what you would be doing is taking that triad, which has a good foundation unto its own, stacking it, and then rather than having the major 7th or the minor 7th here, you would be removing that and adding only the note. Well, when you play a C9, you are simply playing C, E, G, B flat, and D. Same thing, it just now doesn't have a major 7th. Do you notice the way that we do that? And then lastly, what I was talking about, C add 9. C add 9 would not have the B at all. It would just completely ignore it because, as I was saying, you have your foundation, you're not using your 7th, major nor minor, and you're just adding on that 9th scale degree. Now, you can go in here and you could have a C add 9, add sharp 9. You could add, C add 11. You could do add 13. These work here. You could do, so in the key here, you would have either the F, that's the 11th, 13th. You would have the A. And that would be for all of these. So if you wanted C13, you would do the same thing with these, F, A. If you wanted something like a sharp 11, do you see how it would be an F sharp, sharp 11, F sharp, sharp 13, A sharp. And you would name it as such. You wouldn't name it as a B flat because then harmonically C already has a B. You're talking about the 6th scale position, whether it's a minor 6, major 6. You wouldn't go to the augmented 6. So that's how we name extended chords. These are just extended chords or extensions of the chords that are in there. So if we wanted to have something like a C sus, how about like a C7 sus? That would be C. We don't have an E. We now have an F. We have a G. And then we have our 7. B flat. The resolution comes from taking away the major third and then going back to it. After you take away the F and put it back with the E, you get your resolution tone. As far as like doing any more extended chords, you can name them anything you really want. If you wanted to do something like this, here's the key of C major on the treble, no sharps and flats. Here's our ledger line, which gives us our tonic, major third, perfect fifth, major seventh, ninth, 11th. In this case, since C is our root and our foundation, the chord would be C, E, G. That's a C major. B is a B natural, so that's a major 7. We have a 9, but there's no reason to say C major 9/11 because the option for you as a player is it's included. And the reason why we would call this all the way up here to the C major 11 and not officially talk about that D natural in there, the 9, is because it's already included. The standard option goes back to this. If you're following earlier, that'll make sense. If not, no worries. We have a C, E, G, D, B, D, and then F. This is the 1, the 3, the 5, the major 7. This is our 9, and then this is our 11. If we wanted this to be a 13, we would just add our ledger line above, F, G, A. Weeku, weeky. That's the 13 now. You don't have to use these, you could exclude these, but this is what we call a very, very full chord. These are the things that when stacked upon, we call it tertiary harmony. Tertiary harmony is a combination of either a major third or a minor third to give you tones which fit inside of a diatonic structure. Very rarely do we name chords that have something out of that structure. If we do, it's very jazzy or very 7th. The only other one we really didn't cover besides how to just go over the whole thing here is a couple miscellaneous chords, like C6, C, E, G, and then A. A C6 actually feels a lot like an A minor 7, so if you're playing like an A minor 7, you're also playing a C6. If you're playing a G6, you are also playing an E minor 7. Chords have multiple names. Those are just the 2 most common names to name the extension chords. We saw the 7 sus. You could also do something called an alt, which gives you sharpened notes, 3, 5. However, I'm not even going to go over that one here. It's a little weird. The chords we derive from here, just besides having a major, we could also do minor. So all of these can be changed to a minor. You can even keep the major 7 and then have a minor here. That would make this into a flat, right? Or, sorry, keeps the major and does an E flat. Well, a C minor 7 with a major 7, that sounds like a, the James Bond chord. C7, when we make it a minor 7, we're just simply keeping the 7. Oh, gee golly gosh. Ooh, louder. If I did a C minor 9, we would just change the tonality. All the stuff would stay. You change your 7 over. If we had a C minor, how about 13? Get rid of this, add the A, that's our minor, boom. We wanted flat 13, we would do A flat. I hope this makes sense. C add 9, if we didn't want to do add 9, we wanted to do C minor, add 11. Cool, well the 11th is the F, and we change the tonality to E flat. It completely alters the chord from 1, 3, 5 to 1, flat 3, 5, and then 4, or 11 if you want to predispose that. When we're going through, We can do any of these. A really interesting thing that I think this would be a good place to stop here with extended chords because it does really affect the way that you communicate musically. When you have a major, they're called sus. So if you had like a C6-9 chord, you would have C, E, G. You would put your A in there and you would put your D in there. There's no need to have anything above here. Your 6 acts as the foundation that your major 7th would have used. The most common extension note above the octave would be 9, and then the most common note we get to get that extension would be the 7th, either major 7th or minor 7th. In this case, the B natural or the B flat. However, the 6 can also be used. Very rarely, unless you're having a polytone or a cluster chord, will you have like all of them, like a 6, a 7, and a 9. But it does happen because toads have multiple names and multiple uses. So that's a 6-9 chord. And then I guess the way that we were talking here is whenever you have a minor third, like let's say we wanted a C minor 13. No, C minors can't, but the explanation is this. How about a C minor 11? You have to call it a minor 11 chord even if you include this. We don't call chord substitutions like this. When we flatten the suspended note back to an E flat, we don't call the chord a sus. We call it a minor, like a minor 11 or a minor 9. You will never call a minor triad a sus. It will always be a minor 11 or a minor 9 or something like that. And then as far as the extending chords upon there, the best way to do this is to draw your stave, throw up a cuff, put on maybe a C, E, and then use those notes while changing your key. Like what does that make if you throw it in the key of B minor or D major? It makes an A major. If you throw it in the key of G, it's an A minor. Throw it in the key of C, A minor. Throw it in the key of B flat. What do you have there? Oh, we have a diminished. How cool. So what we do when we use our circle fifths and we make chord extensions, we are simply looking to be able to move things around. We're just simply looking to move things around. What up, hottie? Trejo, Taraja is a minor. Trele. What does that mean, bro? What does that mean, brah? Is that right? Tra-la-lelo. Tralelo? Tra-la-la. Oh, cool. Yeah, I've got a particular way of teaching. My students really enjoy it. I've got a really good success rate for taking people that have no musical theory and blowing their mind. And I have a lot of students who have had musical theory or instruction, so there's still a lot to learn on many things. In fact, I don't know everything. I'm still learning daily. The whole idea is you put this into practical application, it becomes a little easier. And then how do you use this, I think, would be the last thing that we should end on. I've got a student here in just a moment, but I do want to finish up on this concept. You know why, folks? Because completing thoughts is cool. Cool-ish, I guess. So if we were doing something like, I don't know, like C major to an E minor to an F major to a G, we'd be doing a 1, 3, 4, 5 progression. More spice, maybe get rid of the C here. On a guitar it opens up the B. That would be our C, E, and G, and now we have a B natural. Well, we just went over on the board that if we have the 7th scale degree, this is called a C major 7. It's pretty light and airy. Next chord we did was an E minor, but if I add the D note in there, I'm giving it the extension of that 9. Now, I call it an E minor 9 because it's not doing the same thing that a major would. If I added the 9 over the top of a major, it would be considering making that a dominant. Our idea of the E minor 9, it just tells me I'm putting the minor 7th over the top. And since I can remove my middle finger here and just play this, another great way to say this is like a G/B, because we have our G/B. D is of course in the key of G, but this is also more specifically called an E minor 9. Cool. And then as far as going to our F major, if we took the F major and flattened one of the Fs and we got the E note, and we opened up our A, D, in here, we're basically having something called a major minor, where we're having our minor note being exhibited from the B flat. We can put that in there. F, G, A flat. Would be a little bit weird, but we're looking at having the 4th over the top. So we're not really calling this a minor chord. We're calling it like a F sus4, but we're using it as a major 7 as well. Yeah, and it's kind of relative to the key of C. And then when we go to G, we wanted something other than just a stock GBD. We can use an extended chord, maybe like play GB and then E. G6. Let's hear how that sounds now. Not really a fan of that lower tonality, so let's switch this E up top. Put it up here. I would much rather have that. So in the Chord Pro, I would say like G with the E on it, and then pull it back really quick. Slide. Ooh, got a new member. Jamie, welcome to the membership. I'm so glad you're digging on stuff that happens here. Remember, all members are privy to member-only video and content. There's going to be a whole lot coming out here soon because it just started memberships. And the whole idea is to have people in the comment section that want to learn music and ask questions. Our next members-only feature is going to be this Monday and Tuesday at 9:30 to 10. Come and ask questions. If you can't, that's all right. Write in a question, I'll get it. And if you ever wanted to take lessons, you can see us at booking WAGO Hanaho. That's my personal email. Or you can just go ahead and throw something out there and have fun on the channel in any comment section. This chord I just went to, hi owner, this chord I just went to is an A major 7. This is also a great chord to be using going around the fretboard, because no matter where you play this shape, it gives you a beautiful jazzy extended chord. So this whole lesson today has been about extension chords. I really do appreciate the new members. Tell you what, check out the page, have fun. Is there a student hanging out right here? And I'm waiting on one of my students to be here. I had a canceled lesson, which is why I jumped on here. Other than that, I really appreciate everybody jumping on the channel, checking out. If you have any questions that are music related, put them there. Become a member like Jamie just did. We're gonna give a shout out to all of our members that join at the end of the month, each month. And then hopefully this channel will skyrocket and help people get where they wanna be musically. Remember, if I don't understand the question, I can't answer it. So make sure you're clear as possible. And if you have a question I can't answer, I don't know everything, I'm gonna ask one of my teachers and I'll get back to you. Other than that, thank you very much for becoming a member today. Jamie, I'm looking forward to seeing you on our member-only chats. And frankly, if anybody in the comment section has a little minute, maybe share this. Hot, also thanks for being here. Sorry for flicking you off if that's what you thought when I do this. I'm just talking about music, yo. Anyway, thank you very much. I do appreciate all the new members on the channel. So very, very cool. Welcome, welcome, welcome to the music membership. And we'll see you for our live music members only videos 9:30 to 10 o'clock on Mondays and Tuesdays. Other than that, I get the privilege of teaching right now.